Hi, everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing Randy Gravitt, who is an author, speaker, and executive coach who encourages leaders to reach their potential. In 2014, Randy founded Integrate Leadership, where he currently serves as the CEO, leading a team of coaches and consultants who work with high-performance leaders, organizations, and teams around the world. As a speaker, Randy delivers keynotes and training workshops on the topics of leadership, team building, organizational effectiveness, and peak performance. The organizations he's helped include Chick-fil-A, Grand Hyatt, Kroger, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and the WinShape Foundation. Additionally, Randy served as one of the leadership coaches for the Pittsburgh Pirates from 2013 to 2018, and currently works with the coaching staff of the Buffalo Bills. Randy has co-authored 2 books with Dan Webster, Finding Your Way and Unstuck. Both titles are aimed at helping leaders discover their passion and live fully engaged lives. Randy also encourages leaders to win at work and at home through his Chasing Greatness podcast. When he's not encouraging leaders, Randy plays golf, reads, and spends time on his back porch. Randy's favorite part-time of life is home. He loves being married to Laura, 35 years and counting, and being a girl dad to his 4 married daughters and granddad to his 4 grandkids. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Randy Gravitt.
Thank you, Tamara. Good afternoon. Go Pirates. I need to update the bio. It's going to be 37 years with Laura, and those extra 2 should count. And the grandkid count has gone from 4 to 8. It's crazy. I mean, we're clapping for the grandkids. That's great. So it's wild. We had 3 in the last 8 weeks. It's like, oh my goodness. And I thought it was great when the girls grew up and got off the payroll, but it's actually the baby clothes budget. My wife is out of control. It's worse now than it's ever been. So it's y'all pray for me. It's crazy. So you look fantastic today. Everybody doing okay? Yes. Those of you who did not skip out on the afternoon session, I'm going to see if we can stay awake for the afternoon. I heard we're ready to go, right? You good? You good? You good? Probably some people went to the pool. We'll see if they made a mistake here in a few minutes. I think you're going to have a really great time. You do look great. In fact, will you turn to the person beside you and just say, you look fantastic. You look fantastic. That's good. That's good. You look fantastic. Now, okay. Now, here's the deal. You do look fantastic, but you actually are not fantastic. I hate to tell you this, but I actually just read a new study that's out. 1 out of every 3 people is now high maintenance. Have you read this study? Let's see if that's true. Look to your left. Look to your right. And if neither one of them is high maintenance, it's probably you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to see if we can help some high maintenance people this afternoon make a little progress. Actually, here's the deal. It really is hard to lead these days. I know you're in leadership. You got big stuff going on. You got clubs you're trying to manage and lead, and you got teams that and the truth is, all of us, if we were honest, we are a mess. We're just a mess. I mean, we really are. In fact, you go ahead and turn back to your person and go, I'm a mess. I mean, we're going to do a little vulnerability here. I'm a mess. And you can say, I'm a hot mess. That's good. Okay, that's fine. No problem. But we're still a mess. And actually, I know this because the real numbers show that about 1/3 of people now are diagnosed with mental health, anxiety, clinical stress. I mean, it's a challenging time to be in leadership. And maybe this afternoon you might just give yourself a pat on the back and say, man, it's hard and you're doing good just to stay in the race here. And so, I don't know about you, but there are times that I feel like that I'm in what I would call leadership quicksand. Anybody here relate? You ever feel like you're just in quicksand? Can I see hand? Anybody in the room willing to say it's just hard right now? You get this. Your members are probably more demanding than they've ever been. I know your facilities are constantly under pressure. I mean, I can just make a list of several things, supply chain issues, and some of you are in food service. You got all kind of stuff. You feel like sometimes you're maybe spinning plates, the lights are coming on like that. It can be really challenging to do what you do, and yet I know from what I'm doing, I mean, I've got a team of about 20 people that we're working with, and she said, CEO, that sounds really impressive. I'm really just the chief encouragement officer. That's what I tell our team. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's is feeling life, because right now it is a very hard time to be in leadership and doing what you do, and so we just need to state that up front. It feels like quicksand. Now, I don't know if I mean, most of you are not as old as I am. I've been around for a while. I'm old enough to know what quicksand is, because I used to watch Gilligan's Island, right? And you know, there's some of you are like, who's Gilligan? I don't know that. You can Google that and find out about Gilligan. But that's the only quicksand I've ever seen. I've never really been in quicksand. I've never seen it. But they tell me a few things about quicksand. Nobody ever gets in quicksand by choice. You really don't. I mean, today, as you think about your leadership, there's a good chance you're in the leadership quicksand and you didn't choose to get in it. You thought this was going to be the dream job. This was going to be great. You're going to get a promotion. You're going to be the leader. I mean, and now all of a sudden, was it Shakespeare who said, heavy is the head that wears the crown? And you're going, oh my gosh, this feels really heavy. Because you got a bunch of employees who get to go home every day and they think about themselves, but you go home every day and you think about all the employees. You think about all the team. You think about all the members. You've got a heaviness, a weightiness that goes to your leadership. And sometimes it can feel like quicksand. It really can. We don't get in there on purpose. But once we do get in there, we actually have some choices, which might be good, but it might be bad first. You say, what do you mean it might be bad? Well, you can actually try to swim if you're in quicksand right now. You can just try. I'll try harder. I'll stay later. I'll work more. I'll get some new goals. I'll try to get some people to help me. I'm just going to try to work my way out of this challenge that I'm in. And she mentioned that I'd written a book, Unstuck. I think you guys are actually doing it for the book club. I would encourage you, if you've not joined that, I hope you will. One of the things we talked about in Unstuck, in case you haven't noticed, I'm a Southern boy. People have already been making fun of my accent today. Y'all are further in the South than I am, but anyway, I know your accents are not quite like my North Georgia accent. So I grew up and we had an opportunity to do some mudding back in the day. So we get in a four-wheel drive, we go mudding. Anybody ever in the room ever been mudding? We got a few mudders here in the room. That's good. So here's the deal. You know, if you've been mudding in a four-wheel drive, that there's going to come a moment where you're going to get stuck. You're going to feel stuck. I mean, you're going to not just feel stuck, you're going to be stuck. Now, if you get stuck, it's really good if you've got a buddy who's got another truck and a chain and he or she can pull you out. I mean, it's great if you've got somebody that can help you when you're stuck. But really the big deal is traction when you get in a place where you're stuck. And my grandpa taught me this. He said, really, you can use anything you've got at your disposal to create traction. So you just get some rocks, boards, buddy in the chain's the best, but if you don't, you're just making stuff up and you're trying to get unstuck. And actually, we know this, those of you who've been in the four-wheel drives, pushing the accelerator harder when you don't have traction just throws mud all over everybody. And it buries you deeper. And I'm guessing some of you are in this room today and you've got your foot on the gas so hard right now and you're pushing as hard as you can. And you're thinking, I'll just try harder, I'll stay longer, I'll do more. And maybe there are some people around you who are mud is slinging everywhere and you're feeling hopeless. I mean, if you're in that place, you're like, I got to get this out. I can't afford to not get this vehicle out of this, And now we feel like we're in that place. It's much like that leadership quicksand. We can try to swim. Some of you right now, you're just trying harder. And we know this. If you're swimming and you're not making any progress, that's exhausting. Option one is to try to swim. I would encourage you today to choose another option. Let's talk about option two. Option two is not as good as option one. I got to tell you, it's literally to die. Now, you're going, what's the next option? Let's just move on. You won't literally die. You won't literally die if you try to, if you give up. I mean, but that's what happens. We just give up. And you don't physically die, but your dreams die, and the morale on your team dies, and your vision dies, and all the stuff that's important to you, maybe your home life dies. I mean, there's stuff that begins to die if we get into quicksand and we give up. Option 1 is to swim. Option 2 is to die. Can we get a third option? Here's option 3. It's to get back to the high ground. It's to get back to the high ground and lead from a place of strength. And I believe every single person in this room has greatness in them. And I also believe that you were born to be on the high ground, to lead from the high ground. It's so cool that you have the privilege of leading and influencing what you have. But here's what happens. This happens for me. There's times I get it all twisted. I lose perspective. I end up buried in the busyness of the business. And there's all kind of emails, and there's all kind of details, and there's people who are demanding, and the next thing you know, I begin to confuse activity, let's push it harder, with accomplishment. They're not the same thing. I don't want to confuse activity with accomplishment. I'm guessing as many people we have in this room, and as many executives and people I talk to all the time, they're telling me all the time, I'm trying harder. One executive told me, I feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole. Now, I don't know if you've been to the county fair lately, probably not, but if you have, there's this game, or maybe you can go to one of your theme parks, they have whack-a-mole. You hit you got the hammer, you hit the mole that pops up, and you knock it down, and then another one pops up, and you literally just feel like, this is stupid. This game is stupid. This is a dumb game. I just gave them how much? The $2. You could play again, and you're not going to win this game. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a bad game. Unless you own the booth, right? I mean, and now it's a smart game. It's like they're not going to win, and they're still giving us their money. This is a great game. I mean, this is crazy. Some of us, this CEO, he told me I feel like every day I'm just coming in putting out fires. And I'll get one out, and I'll move over here to this one, and this one pops back up, and I feel like I just live in this doom loop. Maybe you feel this language. Maybe you feel this exhaustion. And so, how do we get back to the high ground? Now, here's the cool thing today. Every person in this room has a superpower. This is actually really cool. We all have a superpower. Now, I want you to think for a second. If you had a superpower, what superpower would you choose? Anybody got one? Just shout it out to me. Give me a superpower. If you had one, what we got? You'd like to fly. That'd be pretty cool, right? There you go. Anybody got another one? Breathe underwater. I mean, that would like Aqua man or woman. You'd be over there. You need to bridge. That'd be great. Got another one? Invisible. I can be invisible. Okay, you can just kind of sneak around. That'd be cool. I don't know why we want to be invisible. That's good, but whatever. Okay, so we got. Here's the deal. All of us have a superpower, and this is it. Our ability to choose. It's our ability. And this is an underrated superpower, but every single person in this room, you have agency in your situations. There's an author, I actually have met him and spent just a little bit of time with Dr. Henry Cloud. Dr. Cloud has written all kind of stuff. You probably have been exposed to his books, but one of the things he says in one of his books is, you are ridiculously in charge. You're ridiculously in charge. When you think about your life right now, it is perfectly designed to give you your current results. Your habits, your behaviors, your systems, your structure, your team, everything you got going on around you is perfectly designed to give you your current results. So let's think about this idea of choice today. And I want to give you 4 choices that you can make to get back to the high ground, and then I want to give you one reminder at the end that I think may be as important, maybe even more important than anything else that we talk about today. I'm going to save that one till the end. So let's spend a little time together this afternoon. Let's start with these four smart choices, four what we call smart choices. So the first one is to confront reality. The best leaders I know, we did some research around this topic. My partner, Mark Miller, wrote a book called Smart Leadership. We've created all kind of resources about this. And Mark and I, we talked to all these teams, all these leaders, generals, coaches, the best of the best. And all of them, they had these 4 things that we kept hearing about. The first one of those was they're pretty grounded in reality. They confront reality. You don't have to stay where you are, but you do have to start there. You have to start where you are today. So I want us to think about this for a second, because when I ask you, how are you doing today? I could ask that, and I could tell you look fantastic, and you're telling each other, we like you, that's great. How are you really doing? Really probably is the key word. How are you really doing? And I'll use this analogy that I see this happen sometimes. I travel pretty good bit, and I end up staying in hotels pretty often. And sometimes you get in a hotel that's like, it's just a cut above. I mean, it's just like, this hotel is like, they leveled this thing up. And here's how you know. It's not, I mean, a lot of hotels, nice hotels, like this place is really great. They got chandeliers and a lot of people to check in the lobby. You don't have to wait in valet park. A lot of places have that. But you get into some places, it's a step up. And here's how you know. You go in the bathroom in your room and they have 2 mirrors in the bathroom. You know that's a nice place. You're like, dude, what are you talking about? This hotel, I stayed here. They have a mirror, and every hotel you stay in, they'll have at least one mirror in the bathroom. Some places, the fancy places, they have this little bitty mirror over on the side. If you've not looked in this mirror, don't. This mirror this is a scary mirror. They should just call it scary. I mean, what is this thing called? So I'm talking to my 4 daughters, my baby Catherine. She's explaining to me, Dad, that's a makeup mirror. I'm like, have you looked in this? She goes, oh yeah, it's like, it's 5 times the power of it's 5x. And she said, if it's a nice makeup mirror, I mean, how she knows this, I have no idea. She said, you flip it over, it's 10x. I'm like, dude, this is crazy. I mean, why would anybody want to look at themselves this closely? It's like, Dad, we got to get it together. She's explaining all this to me. And I'm like, okay. Here's what I need you to do this afternoon. I need you to take a makeup mirror look at your leadership. It would be really easy for us to say, I'm fine. It's all good. Nobody's quit this week, or only 4 people have quit this week. Just saying. Or I only wish 4 people would quit this week. Just saying. How are you really doing today? You might ask yourself this question: what's it like to be led by me? Because here's what I know. If the leader has checked out, or is burned out, or is copped out, it's really hard for the people who are following that leader. Anybody in the room ever had a really great leader? Anybody ever had a great leader? Can I see? I'm assuming it was really great for you when your leader was great. Anybody had a leader that's not so great? Can I see your hand? We could get some stories from these people, like, if your leader's not great, it is not great. We know this. This is pretty simple, but what's it like to be led by you? If you take a real look at your leadership today, what's the story? Now, let's think about 3 different areas here that we need to confront reality. So the first one I would say is just ourselves, like my own self-leadership. When I think about my leadership, what's it like to be led by me? And that's our question we've asked. And I want you to think about this maybe a little bit differently. So there's a story from the Bible. I don't know if you've read the Bible or not, but you've heard of Adam and Eve. Even if you haven't read the Bible, you've heard of Adam and Eve, first man, first woman. They've eaten the forbidden fruit, it tells us in the Bible, very early. And it's one of those everybody out of the pool moment. They're in trouble, right? And here's what it tells us. God, if there's a God, I mean, now I think there's a God, but God comes to the story and He asks the second question that's ever asked in the history of the world. We're going to borrow that question this afternoon and we're going to apply it to our leadership. Here's the question: where are you? Where are you? Now, if there is a God, and like, this story, when this happens, I'm convinced God has not lost Adam and Eve. Like, He knows exactly where they are. He needs that day for them to admit where they are. That's why I asked the question, where are you? Now, Laura and I, when we had the girls, we lost a couple of them through the years. It's like, I thought you were picking her up. No, I thought you were picking her up. I mean, it happens. And we had a couple of them we tried to lose through the years. They kept coming back. I mean, it happens. God hasn't lost his kids. He knows exactly where they are, and he says, where are you? Today, at a makeup mirror level, how cool would it be for all the people who follow you, all the people actually, not just who are led by you, but who are loved by you, we'll get to that. How amazing would it be for them if we all just looked ourselves in the mirror and said, I'm not where I want to be. Or maybe I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. If so, great. But I'm guessing all of us in this room, we have some places where we're here, that's where we want to be, and there's a gap. And we could literally today do some things that would help us make progress back toward the high ground, back toward where we want to be. So when you think about this, it starts with you. So let's do it this way. I want to give you a chance to think through this for a second. Let's make this practical. You could even do this with your teams when you go back. I want you to, if you could use one word to summarize your current situation at work, what would that word be? I want you to write that down. What word best summarizes your current reality at work? And to push this to another layer, and again, I said we'll come back to this at the end, what would be your one-word reality at home? What's your one-word reality at home? I want you to get these two words in mind, and if you would, I want to ask you to help me out here. I'd love for you to partner up with somebody there and take about 90 seconds each and just share one of your two words. Either this is what's going on with me at work, or this is what's going on with me at home. You won't have time to share both. Just choose one of the two. And I want you to share for 90 seconds and then let her share for 90 seconds and just back and forth. Let's just confront reality here for a second, and we can partner up to do this. And you share whatever you need to. Take about 90 seconds each, talk to each other, and I'll call you back in just a minute. Ready, go. Okay, let me get you to pause. I want you to pause for a second. We're gonna return to our discussion. Everybody come with me. We'll return to this discussion in just a second. But let me ask a second question. Not just where are you when we confront reality, but where is your team right now? Where is your team right now? The people around you that are helping you do what it is you're trying to do. And let's talk here for a second about what it is you're trying to do. I want to remind you that if you can't see it, I don't think you can take people there. It does really start with a vision. Like, what are you trying to do? And I'm guessing all of us who are in quicksand didn't wake up one day and say, I think I'm going to get a job so I can go get in quicksand. That's not what happened. Trying more is not going to get us back to the high ground, but confronting reality and asking ourselves these tough questions can actually put us on a road back to where we want to go. Now, when you think about your vision, can you see it? I was in the room a couple of nights ago, and there was a documentary on about Walt Disney World, and like, you guys got this park here that's like, this guy. You talk about a vision. This guy had a vision. His vision was to get all your money. That was a vision. That was a vision. I mean, have you been there lately? It's like $11,000 for a ticket now, I think. And if you get the fast pass, it's $25,000. It's like, this is, they've got this thing figured out. And their vision was like, we're gonna create a really fun place for families to come. We'll put a gift shop at the end of every ride. I mean, they had a plan. This is a really great plan. No, seriously, they had a great vision for a place, and it really is an amazing place. I don't know if you've been to Disney lately. It may be the thing, you live here, so you don't go there. Like, I had not been in a while, and the last time I went, it was their 50th anniversary, that year, and I went, and I had not been to Epcot in probably 50 years. I mean, it felt like it, and so I thought, I'm going to go to Epcot. I hadn't been there in a while, and I go, and I was speaking for an event in Orlando, and the lady came up and she said, we have an extra ticket. Would you like to go to one of the parks? And I'm by myself, and I thought, you know what, I think I'm just going to go to Epcot, and I'll go hang out, and maybe I'll learn something, and it'll be great. So I go over there, and I get to the gate, and I put my ticket in, or I go up and hand this ticket that they gave me, and it flashes red, which I think is a problem in Florida, just like it is in Georgia. I mean, this doesn't feel like this is good. And, it starts beeping. And this person looks up at me like, I didn't know if they're going to Scotty Scheffler me or not. I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It was like, this is not good. I just knew this is not good. And so I'm like, okay. And this guy says, can you come with me, please? And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I walk over here to this other little place, and all of a sudden, this princess, oh my goodness, this like fairy godmother or something walks up to me and says, sir, can I see your ticket? And I hand it to her, and she's like, hold on, let me give you this one. And she switches it out, and she says, now come over here. And the next thing you know, I'm just in this park, and I'm like, where do they get these princesses? This is like, could we get some of these to help us with that? She solved it just like that. It's crazy. I wasn't detained. It was like, this is so cool. And I'm having so much fun. This place was incredible, but it was an afterthought at the beginning. There was just a, Cinderella, they had a princess over there at that castle, but now they got one at Epcot, and they got them all over the place. All these parks are just incredible. And the movies, by the way, the movies, they make you cry. It's like, did they do anything wrong? It's like, they got it figured out. Started with vision. So in this documentary, it's telling this story, and it says Roy Disney, when it opened, they were talking about the Continental Hotel, and the monorail's got to go through, and there was the steel company's like, we can't make this happen. And all of a sudden, Roy's like, well, we'll just buy the steel company, and it will happen. And it's like, whoa, here we go. And there's a lot of vision behind it. Well, when the park opened, they didn't tell this story, but I've read this story before. Actually, Walt was not there when the park opened. Walt had died about 4 or 5 years before the park opened. And a reporter sticks a microphone in Lillian, his wife, actually was there. Reporter sticks a microphone in her face and says, don't you wish Walt were here to see this? And Lillian doesn't miss a beat. She said, Walt did see this. That's why it's here. When you think about your life and your leadership right now, when you think about your team, when you think about the vision of what it is you're trying to do, what do you see? What do you see? If you can't see it, I don't think you can take people there. And if you're here today and you have lost sight of your vision, and by the way, let me give you a little bit of pass here. It's really hard to stay locked in on our vision when our business, our work, our club, our organization, our team, whatever we have going on, you get going fast, it is hard to not lose sight of the vision. Vision leaks. You've heard this before. It really does. It's just like there's a hole in the bottom of the cup, and we keep filling it up. But if we're not filling it up, vision is gone. And the faster you're going right now, it's like driving a car down the freeway. You go really fast. The faster you go, the harder it is to read the signs. You can actually miss your exit if you're going so fast. It gets really fuzzy, the signs do. The faster you go, you can't even process enough. And some of you are so fast-paced right now. Your work is so busy. Your foot is on the gas pedal so hard. The vision's gotten a little fuzzy to you. And here's what I would say about your team. If the vision is fuzzy to you, it is blurry to the people who are following you. If you can't see it, I promise you they can't. And so I want to challenge you today to begin to think about your team and ask yourself, do I have the people around me to help me go where I need to go? Now as you think about your team, are there people on your team who have gotten outside the boundaries of what it is you need them to do? So what do you mean? You got anybody on your team who's negative? Got anybody on your staff? I mean, you got big staffs, and some of them don't even answer to you. They're answering to other people. Are there pockets of negativity? I think it's hard to go to a positive place with negative people. And I'm either coaching it or I'm enabling it. And today, if I confront reality and I think about my team, where's my team? Are we headed to a positive place? Are there people on my team that are missing? They're not on my team. There are people that are missing from my team. If I'm going to get there, I got to have a higher level of person around me. And maybe that's your deal today. Maybe you're going, I'm not sure I have them. I've either got to develop them or I got to go find them. We'll talk about that in a second. So I want you to begin to think about your team today. Where are you? Yes, but where is your team? Is your team locked in on a vision? And if not, here's the cool thing. Remember, you're ridiculously in charge. You get to go back and you get to reprioritize what matters. So I'm with a business owner a little while back in Dallas. There's 500 business owners in a room in Dallas. We're having breakfast and I'm sitting in the back of the room. I wasn't presenting. There was a lady who was presenting our content actually, and this was great. Anita was her name, and Anita says, I want all of you owners of these businesses, I want you to take your phone out, and I'd love for you to text your top 3 leaders in your business right now and ask them one question. What's our number one priority for the year? And so all these people pull the phones out, and Anita teaches for probably 30 more minutes. And at the end of the session, a lady who's sitting beside me at this table, she leans over and she says, Randy, check this out. All 3 of my leaders said the same exact thing verbatim. And I said, congratulations, that's amazing. She goes, no, it's not. This is not our number one priority. And here's what she said. She said, they're crystal clear on the wrong thing. And she said, and that's on me. If I really want to make up mirror look today and I want to ask myself, how's my team doing? There's so many times if my team has struggled, it's not been because they woke up this morning and thought, let's see if we can make Randy nuts today. It's been because I didn't train them, I didn't teach them, I didn't put accountability in place, I didn't resource them. They're struggling because I'm not leading the way I need to. Where are you today? What's it like to be led by you? The best leaders I know, the best leaders on the planet that we talk to, over and over, they said, you gotta confront reality. You gotta confront reality. It's the first step to getting back to the high ground. Let's look at smart choice number 2. Smart choice number 2 is to grow capacity. To grow capacity. My friend Mark Miller, he always says, your capacity to grow determines your capacity to lead. Your capacity to grow determines your capacity to lead. So years ago, I read this book called 4th and Goal Every Day. It's a book about Alabama football. So I hate Alabama football. Just, can I go on the record? My wife went to Auburn, War Eagle. I was really glad when Nick Saban retired. We'll see. It probably is not going to matter. There's a book called 4th and Goal Every Day about their program, and it was written by a guy named Phil Savage, who is an assistant radio guy with Alabama, who had been a former scout in the NFL when Saban was working in the NFL, and now he's in their program. And he writes this story about it, and he tells in there some of the philosophy of Alabama football, and it's like, this makes a little bit of sense when you think about football. I don't know if any football fans in the room, or you may hate football, but if you know football, here's the premise of the book. This is their philosophy. Big people beat up little people. That's what it says in this book. And by the way, big fast people beat up slow big people. Like, they're looking for big fast people. Because they know at the end of the year, you are going to play some other teams with big fast people. If you're coaching football, that's really great. Now, if you're leading a business, here's what I would encourage you to do. You need big people. People who are growing. Because I've been around for a while. Growing people always grow stuff. You find any growing organization, you will find a growing leader. Because your business, your organization, your club cannot outgrow your leadership. And if we could draw here on the wall a little axis and we could go up and this way, and we thought about our business, let's just make our line here from the bottom. You could do this on your paper. We want to go up and to the right. We love growth, up and to the right. And let's just make that line your club growth. We'll call it that. And it can be your membership growth. And it can be any area of the club that you think about. Hospitality, whatever. You want to see that increase by 10% this year. So there's a line here, and we'll call this our club line, or our business line. And we're going up and to the right, up and to the right. And you pick the number. If you want it to grow by 20%, that's fine. There's a second line, though. I want you right under that line. I'd love for you to make a second line, and let's put on that line leadership. Leadership. Here's what I can tell you. If you want your club to grow by 20% this year, your revenue, you pick any number you want. If you want it to grow by 20%, your leadership's going to have to grow by 20%. Because your business will not outgrow your leadership. They're tied together. Now, you can stop growing as a leader, and I'll give you that if your club is really good and you've got some momentum, it might continue to grow for just a little bit of time. But it is not very long at all until your club is going to plateau if your leaders plateau. One of the things we love to do, our company, we get to work with leaders all the time who are really great at what they do, but they call us and they're like, oh my gosh, we don't have enough leaders to do what we're trying to do. Can you help us? And we love helping people build leadership cultures and engagement and execution. And I mean, it's so much fun to get to work with people. When you start thinking about capacity here, that capacity starts with you and it starts with your team. Starts with your team. It's not just about you. It really is about your team. And when you think about capacity, I want to give you a couple of questions here to ask yourself. First of all, let's start with, when I said we start with you, let's start with your time. What does your schedule say right now about your capacity? I'm guessing there are many people in this room, you could use more time. Here's the reality. You know this. This is pretty obvious. They're like, really, this is all you're saying? You're not getting any more time. You get zero more, there is no more time. That is the only part of your capacity that is limited. But your capacity really can grow when you start asking yourself, what am I doing with my time? And I would ask you today, if you take a real deep kind of makeup mirror look at yourself, what are you doing with your time right now that somebody else could do? What are you doing that somebody else could do? What are you doing right now that you would say, that's the highest, best use of my time? In fact, if you pull back and say, what is the highest, best use of my time? How much of that schedule that you would look at is mirrors that highest, best use of time answer? And if there's a gap there, this feels like to me a layup. Not a three-pointer. This is a layup in your leadership. This is easy, low-hanging fruit. Like I could just make a shift and somebody else could do that. And the next thing you know, capacity begins to grow when we understand that capacity starts with time. Let's think about our team. Let's think about our team. Remember a minute ago, do we have the people around us to help us do what we're trying to do? And you're going, I really don't. I got to have some more people. Well, maybe. Maybe I just need to lead differently the people I have. You say, what are you talking about? Well, tell me your name.
Nadine.
Miggy? Nadine. Okay, so I got Nadine here on my team, and I've asked her to handle these 2 water bottles because we're in the water bottle business here at our club, and I don't like the way Nadine's doing this. Now, it's not her fault, because this was the way I trained her when I promoted her to the water bottle, Nadine, to the water bottle, lady. I said, Nadine, here are these water bottles. Take care of them. If you need anything, let me know. That's her training. Now, what she doesn't know is I used to be in charge of water bottles. I ordered them. I labeled. This was my deal for 6 years, and then she got promoted into it, and now she's doing it. And she's 6 weeks after I did it for 6 years. 6 weeks later, she's not doing it the way. And she hadn't said anything. And I told her. I said, "Hey, if you need anything, let me know." And now I'm frustrated with her when I maybe ought to be frustrated with myself. So here's what I do, Nadine. I don't even tell her. I'm just like, I don't like the way she's doing it. It's easier for me just to do it, and I'll pick it back up. Paul, I gave you this notebook. You got a pen lying across the top of it there. I don't really like the way you did that. I want the pen to go this way. What are you, prejudiced against lefties, man? Come on. And so it's just easier for me to go and do it. And tell me your name. I got Britton over here. Man, I'm dropping pens now. That's not good. He's in charge of the candy. We got wrappers lying over here. What are you doing? A couple Werthers. That's good. And it's just easier for me to go and do it. And I got stuff. And some of you, and you're laughing. This is the way you feel right now. Can I remind you today, it is not your job to do their job. It's not your job. It's your job. I'm gonna actually trust you, Paul. You can help put that pen any way you want to. And Nadine, I'm not sure if both those were yours or one was Paul's. You'll figure it out. It is amazing how many of us have our hands in stuff that somebody else could do. And we're wondering why we're so exhausted. And here's what happens. Nadine, Paul, and Britton, I don't even remember all their names. I don't have time. I got too much. They will leave me. People don't leave organizations. They leave leaders. And there's nothing worse than they've left you and they actually haven't told you. You're like, what? No, they're still here. They're here, they're just not here. Barna's latest research, 80% of people are disengaged at work. They don't care what their leader cares about. It is hard to go to a high-performance place with people who are just like, he's going to do it anyway. And if I get real today with myself, my team will tell you that. I mean, I have conversations with them all the time. If I'm not careful, I will be the bottleneck of our business. There are gifted people here who can take this and run with it. There are people who can do technology. You don't need to have your hands in technology. There are people who can do leadership development. You may or may not need to have your hands in that. What is it that you need to do that only you can do, and you need to let some other people do some things? And by the way, here's what the engagement, we've done a bunch of work on this. The research shows when you give people more responsibility, their engagement actually goes up. Quiet quitting and the great resignation and all that happens because people don't feel responsible for anything. They actually, they feel like I do. So what are you talking about? So today, in just a little while, I'm going to drive back to the airport. I rented a car. Here's what I'm not doing. I am not washing the car on the way back to the airport. It's just ridiculous to even ask the question. Anybody here ever washed a rental car? Like, I mean, if you've been mudding, maybe, but I mean, who's washing a rental car? Nobody. But if you own something, you treat it differently. And when you think about your people on your team, how many of them are treating what it is you've got them doing like a renter versus an owner? You give people ownership for stuff and responsibility, and you empower them and affirm them, by the way. You celebrate their work. You watch what happens. Your team, and by the way, when your team gets better, oh my goodness, your capacity goes through the roof. Now, I won't try this here, but I did this yesterday. I was in a table, Friday, I was in a room with round tables. And let me give you just a picture here of what happened. So I'm standing here, let's say I'm at your table right here. And I said, in fact, I can do it with you guys. I said, let's, on the count of 3, let's get this table off the ground. We're just going to lift it about this high. We're going to lift it this high, and then we're going to go back down on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, up, and 1, 2, 3, down. And now, we had round tables, and there were 5 or 6 people each one. And so I was able just to walk away, and I said, can y'all do that again with me not in the meeting? They're able to do it. And then I said, oh, this made it crazy. I said, can everybody in the room, we had about 40 tables in the room. I said, can everybody do that on the count of 3? Every table in the room went up. You think about scaling your leadership, your hands don't have to be in everything. In fact, if my hands are in everything, a lot less is going to happen. Some of us today, our capacity would get bigger if we would allow our team to do what they're supposed to do, and we would spend our time developing our team. So maybe today, when we think about growing our capacity or confronting reality, this is our spot. Okay, so how would we do this? Let me give you a specific way to. This is a baby step to start from where we are to where we want to be. So, anybody in the room like popcorn? Any popcorn people in the room? We got popcorn people. That's good. Anybody microwave popcorn? Microwave? We got some microwavers. That's good. Anybody got the? Anybody? So I married this. I married this girl. Her dad was a farmer. I mean, it's still who I'm married to now. It's the same girl. I mean, it's like it sounded kind of crazy. So we have the big silver pot, and he wasn't a corn farmer, so this is kind of weird, but he would bring us these corn kernels all the time, and we just make popcorn. It's crazy. It's pretty cool. You got movie night, and all the girls are there. I mean, it's like, well, this is crazy. And so I've learned to like popcorn, but here's what I hate about popcorn. I don't care whether you do microwave popcorn in a big silver pot. I got a buddy, he air pops it. He told me the same thing. Not all the kernels pop. That's ridiculous. You get to the bottom, you always want one more bite. And there's these little kernels in the bottom, and you're like, what is up? It's like, I think it's like those corn kernels are out. We're not doing it, man. I mean, that's like that. I don't know what they're doing. When you think about your team right now, who's popping? Who around you right now is popping? You look at them, they're there early. They got a great attitude. They're able to do, you're like, well, they're not quite as good as I am. If they're 60% as good as you, give it away. You get a couple of 60s, that's more than 100, even from Georgia. I mean, it's... And all of a sudden now, it gives me the ability to put my time on, I have more capacity. And your capacity to grow is going to determine your capacity to lead. I want to challenge you to begin to think about who's popping on your team right now. You have some people on your team that aren't popping. You have some people on your team that are actually, if the truth be known, they're draining you. And I believe the people closest to you should be putting energy into you, not draining or sucking the life out of you. Hello. How many of us right now, we're going, I'm putting all my time into people who are... Now, there are some people who may need to be corrected, may need to be adjusted, may need to be invited to leave your team. I don't know. You have to decide all that. I'm going back home, but you got to go back to, These are hard choices. But sometimes those people are struggling. They're negative because I've gotten negative, or I'm in the quicksand, or I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. So when you think about your team today, I said we'll jump back into the conversation. You think about your capacity, you think about your team. What one word best describes your team right now? When you think about your team, is it a positive word, some kind of exciting? You're like, this, we're taking new ground? I mean, I don't know. Or is it like we're spinning our, what is the word that best describes your team right now? I want you to lean back over to the person and share with them about your team. Take just a couple minutes and talk about that. Ready, go. Okay. Let's pull that back down, land that. And I want to encourage you, while you're together the next couple of days, some of these conversations could continue. You'll learn from each other, best practices. In fact, one of the things that might frustrate you this afternoon about our time together is we'll surface more than we'll be able to solve. The cool thing is you actually get to go and work on some of the stuff that we talk about today. I mean, I hope you have a really good session here, but I'm actually more concerned with what's going on 30 days from today than I am what happens today. What would happen if we really did go back and we began to work on our capacity and we began to share ownership with some things? And there's a third area. It's not just our time and our team. I want you to also think about your energy when it comes to your capacity, your energy. So what are you talking about, my energy? Do you have the energy to do the job? Because you remember a minute ago I said you need the people around you to put some strength into you. You know, I need to tell you, the people around you are going to need to borrow some of your strength as well. You're going to need to be strong enough for you and the people who are following you, even the people who are popping. You got people on your team, they're going to need you to be resilient and you to be able to lead you. And the hardest person, by the way, that you're ever going to lead is, it doesn't matter which mirror you look in, that's the person. You're going to be your biggest challenge. We really are at the front of the line when it comes to I really am a mess. And can I lead me? And if you can lead you got a really good shot of helping some other people around you. And so this starts with our energy. And when I think about my energy, there are a few things that are really, they're like fuel to my energy. So let's talk about some of those. What do I put in my body? What do I put in my body? Am I hydrating? Nadine's hydrating. She got a couple of them going right there. That's good. And by the way, what am I hydrating with? I mean, so like, am I getting the water that I need? Most of us, the research would show, most of us are chronically underhydrated. Am I exercising? Am I moving? I mean, if I just eat correctly and move more, it actually moves my energy. It's crazy what happens. And I need to have enough energy for me and the people who are depending on me. And right now it's 8 little grandkids. Like, and by the way, I asked my wife the other day, like, there were 3 of them over. We had 4. We had 4 in 5.5 years. Like, that counts. I mean, that's parents. I mean, it's like, what? I mean, it was crazy back then. But we kind of forgot, like, how hard it was. We had 3 of them over the other day, and a couple of them are potty trained. And I'm like, when they left, I asked her, how did we do that? And she said, I can't remember. I mean, it's like the whole 90s were a blur for her. It's like, what in the world happened? This is crazy. And I was talking to one of my buddies. He's like, you were younger. Here's what happens. The older you get, energy is not going that way. Energy is going this way. So when you think about your energy today, what are you doing that's putting energy into you? I'm guessing all of us in the room have things that are draining energy out of us. But are you spending some time putting energy into you? And for you, I mean, she said, my favorite place is my back porch. I love sitting on my back porch. I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm a high-functioning introvert. I'm pretty good in a group, but you let me be on my back porch, that's like, oh my goodness. That gives me energy. And it gives me energy to come and be with people. What are you doing to put energy into you? You're helping everybody else play golf, but you never get to play. Everybody else gets to go sailing, you never get to sail. You like to fish, but you never get to fish. I mean, what is it that you go, this is what I need, and yet your schedule never reflects it. I don't have time. You're not getting any more time. What am I doing with the time I have to put energy into me? And by the way, there's one other area of energy that I find affects me a lot. It's sleep. It's not just me, by the way. There's all kinds of studies that we don't pay attention to our sleep enough. And so I'm not like Mr. Mattress salesman here, but I would tell you, if you don't have a comfortable place to sleep in a cool room with a pillow that's comfortable, like you're spending a third of your life there, you might want to think about that. I know a guy, he owns a business, and this business kind of goes 24/7, and he told me he'll literally wake up in the night and he checks his phone to see what's going on in their business in the middle of the night. I don't think that's the way I want to live my life. And he didn't either. I mean, he's just like, I can't pull out. He's confronting reality. And it can be hard. It can be really hard. There's some things we can do to make sure that our energy is at a great level. And here's the thing. Our energy gets to a good place. All of a sudden, our perspective begins to change and our leadership begins to change. A lot of things change when we take care of some of the things that we actually can control. So I'm in spring training up here in Bradenton with the Pirates a few years back. First time I ever went there. They have a big sign on the wall that said, they got their values on the wall, and one of them is control the controllables. And I walk into camp and I've got 80 coaches from low A ball all the way through their major league guys are all in this room, and I'm supposed to talk to them. And the very first thing I said is, I think y'all should do away with your value of controlling the controllables. And I wasn't sure if the GM might throw me out of camp. That's the first thing out of my mouth. And here's what I said. I think if it's controllable, you should dominate it. I think we should dominate the controllables. I think too many times we think, well, I'll control it and this is okay. No, if there's any place we can run up the score, our attitude, our effort, our sleep, our nutrition, our exercise, there are some places where we actually get to choose to do the right thing, and it affects us greatly. If we don't, how many times have I not done what I'm supposed to do, and I get on the other side, I'm like, why did I not do that? I can't ever remember going to the gym or eating right or doing what I'm supposed to do and thinking, man, I wish I hadn't done that. Never. It's so simple, and yet how many of us, our capacity is squeezed, I'm doing it to myself. If I'm really honest and I look myself in the makeup mirror and I'm going, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Let's work to grow our capacity. I think it's a huge opportunity here for us today. It's smart choice number 2. Here's number 3. This was crazy. We start talking to all these people and they're like, I'm a learner. I'm talking to people all the time. And we put it under the banner of fuel your curiosity. Fuel your curiosity. Leaders, I've always heard leaders are readers. I think that's true. But I want to change it a little bit. Leaders are learners. They're always looking, they're always listening, they're always talking to somebody, they're sharing best practices, they're on a podcast, they're at a conference. You're here today. You're learning. You've pulled up out of your club, out of your business, and you're working on your business, working on yourself. I love that. I think that's fantastic. The default mode is going to be just work harder, work harder, work harder, work more, be in the grind of it. And I'll give you a picture I think is really good. I think if we're not careful, you'll like this being from Florida, we'll stay at sea level. We'll stay at sea level. Like, what are you talking about? You know how far you can see if you're standing on the beach? Like, you look out across the water, how far do you think you can see if you're at sea level? You actually, somebody asked me this question. I'm like, a long way? I don't know. And the guy's like, no, how far do you think you really can see? And I'm like, I didn't know what he wanted. To China? I don't know. How far can you see? I guess it'd be the other way. Here's what he says. He said 2.9 miles. I'm like, no, come on, man. Now you can see further. You can see, there's boats out there. He goes, no, 2.9 miles. He said, have you heard about the earth being round? I'm like, I've heard about that. Yeah. He goes, well, that's the horizon. And you can see out into the horizon, but the earth is curved, and if you do the math, you can look this up, by the way. You do the math, you can see 2.9 miles, and it begins to curve off. If you're on the beach, you can see 2.9 miles. If you get to 1,000 feet, though, this is cool. Get up to 1,000, let's get to we're on a pretty good high rise here, but you get to 1,000 feet, you can see 39 miles. Good enough lens, clear day, 39 miles. You get to 30,000 feet, we'll be at 30,000 feet a little while today. You can see 211 miles. So last weekend, I had a conversation with a guy named Dan Cathy. Dan Cathy is the son of Truett Cathy. Truett Cathy is the founder of Chick-fil-A. And I saw Dan, and I'm talking to him, and I said, Dan, tell me, Dan's older than I am. Dan's probably 70 now, and I'm saying, tell me what you're thinking about and what you're working on. And he's retired from the business, but he's got his hands on all kind of stuff. Just a great leader. And Dan says, I'm asking myself every day, did my ears pop today? Did my ears pop today? Meaning, here's what he says, meaning, did I move from he didn't use the word sea level, but did I move from the grind of the work up to an elevation that caused my ears to pop? Think about you drive up into the mountains. You know, I know about the mountains where we come from. You start going to elevation, your ears pop. But they won't pop again unless you come back down. And so as leaders, we've got to have this mindset that we're going to move from, you are going to be on the beach, you're going to be with your team, and Nadine, I got to make sure you understand this before we hand something off. But I'm going to move back up, and I've got to have some time, at least on the balcony. Now, what would that look like when you think about fueling your curiosity? I want to give you some time on your schedule where you say, I've got to have some time to learn. I've got to have some time to grow. I've got to have some time to get better. Here's the reality. For every person in this room, noise, you know about noise, right? Noise is all over your schedule right now. Noise makes it onto your schedule whether you put it there or not. There's noise all over your schedule. You got email noise, you got detail noise, you got the board's making noise, the club members making noise, somebody's making noise, they didn't get their cart. I mean, that's like, people are making noise. And the media is making noise. Social media is making noise. We were talking earlier, and it came up that if you had, was it Rumpelstiltskin, the guy? That's not, Rip Van Winkle. Rip Van Winkle is the guy who slept a while, right? So if you put him in 2007 and he woke up in 2010 or 2017, that 10-year period, this guy was writing about this. He said, "What are all these people holding these things in their hand? What happened? What's going on with this? The whole the world kind of looks the same, but everybody's looking down at a phone now." Anybody raising screenagers at your house? I mean, you're like, what happened? And you start paying attention to the amount of time you're on the screen. I think the latest average I saw was about 12 hours a day for an adult on a screen. It's like, oh my goodness, what's happening here? And we don't have time to pull up and look at what's really happening. I would challenge you as you start thinking about this concept of putting time on your schedule. Noise is on your schedule, whether you schedule it or not. But here's what I know, quiet. Remember quiet? Maybe not. Quiet won't make it onto your schedule unless you schedule it. And I think our curiosity, I think our learning so many times comes in quiet. And if I could recommend you do anything this week, it might be to get a blank legal pad and take a pen and find a quiet spot. You got all kinds of spots around Florida. You could find a spot. Not a spot to scroll your screen, not a spot to check your emails or who's called. I got to answer all these texts. I got that little red dot on my phone. I got to see if I can make that. No, I'm talking about you and a legal pad, and you ask yourself, where are we trying to go? Why does it matter? What's our vision? Who do I need around me to go there? And if I don't have any time on my schedule to think and to develop myself, what do I need to be reading? Who do I need to be talking to? Do I need a coach? Who do I need to be learning from? All of a sudden, when I fuel my curiosity in those moments where I pull up and I'm looking out, I can see so much with so much more clarity when I take time to do that. But if I don't, it just gets real foggy. And if you're here today and you're just in the grind day after day after day and your ears never pop, it can be exhausting. That quicksand is real, and we all know it. And I don't think it's going to get easier to live on the high ground. I think that screen and all that stuff is going to make it a challenge. And so I want to challenge you to do that. So how would I do it? Let me give you a way to think about this. I would say if I had to do one thing, I'd try to win the first hour of the day. Try to win the first hour of the day. So what does that look like? Well, you get to decide, actually. You're in charge of that. I can't tell you what to do with your first hour of the day. You may want to do some push-ups, or you may want to drink some water. You may want to go, you want to read something. You get to decide what you want to pray a prayer. You do whatever you want to do. I got a buddy, he literally every single morning he takes a 20-minute walk around his neighborhood. I'm like, is it for exercise? He said, partly. He said, but here's what I do, really. I think about all the things I'm grateful for every morning. This is one of the most grateful guys I've ever met. But he's practicing. I think hope is not a strategy. I think you practice your way to high performance. It's much like anybody in here got you work at a boat club or a yacht, any yacht club people in the room? Got a few in here, okay. So you know these boats, or you've been on we see sailboats out here. I saw them yesterday. You see a sailboat, no organization, no club drifts to greatness. It's got to be led there by a leader just like you who says, we're going to set the sail. Now, I did some sailing. I never sailed before. I was in New Zealand, actually, in November and December. We actually got to go sailing. It was crazy. It was cool. You guys work at these places. It was like my first time. And this guy's teaching us all about that. And here's the deal. If you know what you're doing, this guy was telling me, you can go around the world. But if you just I hope the wind blows and you put this up and you can end up you can wreck it. I think some of us, when we think about our business, we think about our club, we think about our organization, we're just I hope things get better. Hope is not a strategy. Maybe somebody will change. Maybe they won't. What would it look like for us to say, we're going to set this? Now, by the way, you boat people in the room, you know that there still are choppy waters. What we're saying is not easy. And you're going to have to navigate ups and downs and highs and lows. But I believe if we have a development mindset, we stay curious, we keep learning, we keep pulling up to that high ground, all of a sudden now, we have a chance to really take our organization to an incredible place. I see your thing here. You guys are the largest chapter in the world. I mean, it's you're already going to a great place. I've met so many of your people. I've talked to Beth. She's incredible to have conversation and learn about what you're doing. You're doing some great things here. But here's the deal. I don't want great things to be going on around me and not be going on in me. I want to be every single person in this room, I want you to be passionate about your growth. And I'm going to be honest with you. I woke up this morning and I was so excited that I got to hang out with you today. I really was. I was pumped up. I was thinking, because here's what I know. You have thousands of people work for the people in this room. You get better today, their lives get better. I'm so passionate about your growth, your development, you getting better. But here's the real deal. If I'm more excited about your growth than you are, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. If you find yourself in that quicksand and you can't get back to that high ground, there's a lot on the line here. Not just your people, but your own joy and your own, the good stuff that's in you, it needs to come out. So this idea of fueling curiosity, it's a huge deal. And then the fourth smart choice is to create change. It's to create change. At the end of the day, we need something better. If we're not where we're supposed to be, we need to take a step toward where we want to go. And here's the cool thing. When we know where we are, we start where we are. You know this. You've been in a mall or an airport and you've seen the little kiosk. I love the map. It's so fun. Nowadays you can just kind of probably use your phone, depending on where you are. But if you're in a big location, even here in the hotel, the first day I was here, there's a little map. I'm looking at the whole "you are here" thing. We see it. Those same three words are everywhere. Where are you? Remember? They kind of took that, from a few thousand years ago and said, we'll use that. And you go to a mall. I guess they still have malls. You start where you are, and if you want to go to the Foot Locker, it's over there. And you want to go to the Neiman Marcus, it's over there. And you want to go to the food court, it's over there. Well, I want to go to the Foot Locker. Okay, then I turn this way, and I take one step. I just take one step, and all of a sudden I get closer. Because my direction always determines my destination. And so today, if you could just lock in on one change that you want to make in the next year, or let's say by the end of the year, let's use June here. It's crazy, but we're this close to halftime. We're this close to half the year is gone. And so what would happen if you said, okay, NBA finals are going on right now, and basketball's almost over. The NBA guy's almost over. I used to be a basketball coach. I loved it when at the end of the half, you could pull everybody in. I was a girls basketball coach. You bring the girls in and have a conversation about, here's what we said before the game. These are some adjustments we need to make. Here's what happened in the first half. Let's make sure we do this going in the second. This is a great time for you to look at your leadership and say, We're pulling out. We're coming to the Sunseeker. We're going to make some adjustments, and we're going to go back in. And what would happen if you said, we're going to run the score up in the second half? We're going to make some changes. I'm not going back. And is it even sustainable for me to try to swim in this quicksand I'm in if I don't do something different? Now, different, let's think about different here for a second. Different is not always better. It's not. But better is always different. If you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. Make the change today. Create some change. Now, here's what I'd love for you to do. I'd love for you to identify one thing that you would like to see change in the next 6 months in your club. Like, is there one thing that you would say, this is something I would love to see change between now and the end of the year? What do you want to be true at the end of December that's not true today? Let's just start with that. Could you identify that place? And again, I'd love to give you just a couple of minutes. Could you identify your spot and let them and talk to each other and just compare notes here? I think this could be a rich little conversation, at least for me to admit this is what I need to change. So talk to each other here for a couple minutes, and then I've got one more thing I want to share with you, and then we'll do a little Q&A. All right, here we go. Take 3 minutes. Ready to go. Okay. So I mean, a lot of energy there. I love your engagement. It's fantastic. So what needs to change? What needs to change? I love that question, and you've identified this area. And what would it look like for you to go back and share with your team? This is where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do. No team, no organization drifts to greatness. It's got to be led there. And I believe we can do that. Now, let me give you something that might be helpful to you. I want to give you a little tool here, and then I want to share one more thing, and then we'll take a couple of questions. So here's the tool. So we have an assessment, a free assessment. If you would like a smart leadership assessment, you can text Be Smart, one word, by the way. I'm not sure that was smart, but Be Smart, no spaces, to 66866. 66866. And here's what it'll do. It'll walk you through just a short little assessment, pretty simple, but it's going to walk you through this idea of confronting reality, growing your capacity. It'll help you think through the curiosity piece and your development plan for everybody, and then the change. And it's going to help you identify a couple of areas. And your main area of opportunity, we're going to give you some prescriptions, some things that you can do immediately. We're real big believers on you behave your way to high performance. You practice, you get there because you do some things. And so we'll give you that. If you 66866, be smart, that'll be helpful. So I want to talk about one other area that's totally off. It's kind of off, but I had a conversation with Beth, and we thought, and I told her something I was working on, and she said, share just a spot of that. And so I want to give you this. And so I have a book actually that's coming out tomorrow, which is, I wish I could have had it here for you today, but there's a book that's coming out tomorrow called Winning Begins at Home. Winning Begins at Home. Here's what I'm discovering. We work with leaders everywhere, and we create all kind of content for leaders to help them with, again, we're trying to help people build a leadership culture and work on alignment and engagement and execution. We work with all these companies. It's so much fun. It's great. By the way, if you need us, you want help, reach out to us. Randy at leadeveryday.com would love to talk to you about what it might look like for us to help your team. That's great. But here's what I would say. I'm talking to leaders all the time. We're creating stuff to help them win at work. And I hear over and over again, things are not so good at home. I've got too much going on here. I just don't have time over here at home. And the way I summarize that, if you win at work and you lose at home, I think you still lose. That's what leader after leader tells me. It's like, the goal is not to build a great club and then things outside of work not to be so good. We used to call it 9 to 5, right? I'm not sure that exists anymore, but 9 to 5, that's what we've been talking about the last few minutes here today. What's going on from 5 to 9? I think that matters as much, maybe even more, than what happens from 9 to 5. I think a lot of fun stuff happens outside of work. And by the way, it may not even be about your family. It might be about your fitness or your finances or your hobbies there's a lot of things that happen outside of work. If we're not careful, it'll just be a work life. And I don't know about you, but I'm not real excited about getting to the end of my life and just, man, he was really great at work. I want to be great at work. I really do want to be great at work. But that's not all I want. And I was talking to an assistant coach, an NFL assistant coach who actually played for another organization and had won a Super Bowl. And now he's got 2 little girls, and he asked me a question. I'm doing a little coaching with him, and he asked me a question. He said, do you think you can win a Super Bowl and not mess up your family? And I said, why are you asking me that? And he said, well, I won a Super Bowl. And he said, when the confetti was coming down that day and everybody's kind of leaving, I'm looking around and all our coaches, their family were not intact. And a lot of our players, it was a total mess off the field. And he said, I'm sitting here now, I've got these 2 little girls, and I'm wondering, can we really do this and not lose, at home? And here's what I asked him. I said, I don't know. I think you can. But if you can't, I don't know why you'd want to win a Super Bowl. And he said, you're right. Now, thankfully, in their organization, they're all aligned and they're really trying to, value some of this. But I think one of the most valuable things we can do is win outside of work. And so I want to give you just a snippet here today. I think actually this would help you at work as well, what I'm going to share. But let me give you one idea to help you outside of work. And this is it. It would be to love first and to live last. To love first and live last. So you say, what are you talking about? So to love first, I would encourage you, when you think about the way you are at home, I would encourage you to ask yourself, make up mirror question, what's it like to be loved by me? We asked earlier, what's it like to be led by me? What's it like to be loved by me? And if I'm not careful, I can have frustration here, quicksand here, and bring it over there. And I can find myself, by the way, this happened to me sometimes, I'll be at home and not be at home. You can be there and not be there. And by the way, your technology is at war against you being where you are. Your technology wants you to be with it. My wife and I were having a conversation, and we're talking about how easy it is now when you're talking to somebody, if they have on a digital piece or something and it goes off, I'm sharing with you that I've got cancer or my mom's doing it, whatever. I mean, it could be the deepest conversation ever, and they're like, just one second, hang on, and they're going to tap that. And now, when are you going to die? That's kind of the way it feels. This is the world we live in. And so I want to encourage you to really put on your at-home hat. And I don't know how you do this. This can be really hard because some of you even work from home at times. I have a stop sign at the end of my neighborhood. And when I go past that stop sign, I want to go to work and I want to dominate when I'm at work. I want to be great when I'm at work. But when I come back past that stop sign, I want to make sure that if I'm you and you got little boys or little girls and you're reading to them, I don't want to be reading to them and not be reading to them. I don't want to be playing catch and not really, and be thinking about my proposal or my, this guy's really upset and this are they going to drop out of the club and they got a lot of influence. I want to be where my feet are. And so this love first mindset it comes back to how we treat people. Are we with people when we're with them? How do we talk to people? Are we harsh with people? You're never persuasive when you're abrasive, by the way. That works at work too. My wife tells me saying it louder doesn't make you more right. I'm just saying. And sometimes we're with people and we don't love them. And then the second piece is to live last. And they kind of go hand in hand. And I'll put a bow on them in just a second. But to live last is to take on the mindset of an offensive lineman. Now, I don't know if we said a minute ago, do you like football or hate football? Either way, you know some football players, and if I ask you to list a couple of them, most of you would name a couple of quarterbacks, even if you don't know any. You're like, yeah, Tom Brady, I've heard of him, yeah. And by the way, he doesn't play anymore. But you would name some quarterbacks. Nobody would go, oh, I got an offensive lineman, let me tell you. But here's what every good coach will tell you. If you can't block them, you can't beat them. And those quarterbacks would be lying on their back if it weren't for these offensive linemen who show up and they get all padded up and taped up and they're locked in and they open up holes so other people can score. You go home and you begin to do that, the people in your family will really like being in your family. And here's what I've noticed. I've been around pretty, I'll be 60 this year. Here's what I've noticed. The people that get to be a part of a really good family, things usually end up pretty good for them. And the people that are in a hard family, things are usually pretty hard for them. And if you're in a family, by the way, anybody in this room, all of us are in some kind of family, you know that there's no perfect families. They're all hard. It's like this is the place you're going to get an opportunity to practice sacrifice. And offensive linemen in a home, they keep showing up. And what's an offensive lineman in a home? I'm not really sure. Can you connect the dots? It's a mama. Any mamas in the room? Any mamas in the room? Yeah, we got some mamas in the room. I hate to tell you this, but you're going to get home a couple nights from now, and your kids aren't going to be going, oh, we missed you so much. Oh, it was just, we hated it that you were gone. Here's what they're going to say. What'd you bring me? That's what's going to happen. Dads, any dads in the room? You got dads all in the room? Yeah. Being there for your kids, talking to them, letting them have a little bit of the home field advantage. You don't have to have the last word. You're not trying to make your point. You're not trying to be right. You'd rather get it right than be right. When we work on this, oh my goodness. Let me put a bow on this. I hope you'll get this book. It's a little parable, 120-page parable with a 70-page basically blueprint in the back of it to help you build really the family that you want. I hope you'll get a copy of that. And I think you can go to leadeveryday.com and there's all kind of resources there. But that book is there, and there's bulk stuff. You want to give it to some of your employees. I encourage you to do that. It is a good tool. It comes out tomorrow again. I hope you'll check that out. But here's the question I have. This is the question I ask myself. How do I live my life in such a way that the people who know me the best love me the most? So many people I know, the people who know them the best respect them the least. Dad, you're this way over here at work, but over here, not so much. The people who know, like if we lived our lives in such a way, the people who knew us the best loved us the most, I think we really can win at work. I think we can show up and go, hey, I got to make a hole today so Nadine can win. I think it'll be a lot more fun to be on my team if I kept, Paul, I'm going to help you score today. Rather than over here, I'm drowning in quicksand. I can't get back to the high ground. I don't spend any time thinking about where we're trying to go. I don't even have time to focus on them. I'm so, how amazing would it be if all the people in this room got locked in halftime? I'm going to go back and I'm going to be different. I'm literally going to confront reality every day. I'm going to work on growing my capacity so I can grow our club. I'm going to fuel my curiosity. I'm going to keep growing. My capacity to grow determines my capacity to lead. I'm going to create some change. And then I'm going to remember that if I win at work and I lose at home, I'm not sure I'll win. I want to win where it matters most. I think if I do all that, I'm going to be in a really great place. And that's my hope for you. That's what I woke up this morning thinking about. You guys, maybe tens of thousands of people are going to be, when you think about the members and the staff and all the people, it's staggering the impact that the people in this room have. I hope we'll use that and leverage that the way we're supposed to. Okay, so I want to take a couple of questions here before we've got about 10